This is Chapter 3, Lesson 7, Divide Decimals by Whole Numbers. So there are a couple of things that we can do. We can estimate by rounding the dividends, which is what we've done before. So when dividing the decimal by a whole number, I just divide as with whole numbers. Then place the decimal in the quotient directly above its place in the dividend. Okay. So I can look at some examples. Example number 1 says find 6.8 divided by 2. Okay, so I'm going to divide like I normally would. I'm going to pretend the decimal's not there. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 times 2 gives me 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. I bring down my 8. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. Okay, then I have my decimal right here between the 6 and the 8. So I move it straight up. So I have 3.4. So my quotient for 6.8 divided by 2 equals 3.4. Okay. Number 2 says find 7.7 divided by 14. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 7.7, I'm going to add a 0 on the end. I'm going to annex a 0, okay, because 14 can't go into 7, so I put a 0 up top. Okay, but 14 can go into 77 5 times. 5 times 14 gives me 70, and I subtract. 70 minus 70, or 77 minus 70 gives me 7, and I bring down my 0. Okay. Then I can say 14 goes into 70 how many times? 5 times. 5 times 14 is 70. 70 minus 70 is 0. Okay. Then I have my decimal right here between my two 7s, and I bring it straight up. So it's really important when you're dividing that you're lining everything up. Okay? So when I divide a decimal by a 2-digit number, the decimal point in the quotient is placed directly above its place in the dividend. In real-world situations where the division does not result in a remainder of 0, I round the quotient to the specified place. Okay, so let's look at example number 3. Lynn is mailing a care package to his brother. The table gives the cost for mailing packages. If Lynn's care package weighs 3 pounds, how much is the cost per pound? Okay, so I'm going to look at my table over here. So my table gives a couple of weights. So I'm going to go look at 3 pounds. A 3-pound package costs $6.74. Okay, so if I'm finding the unit price of something, I'm going to take the cost and divide it by the weight. Okay, so I'm going to take 6.74 divided by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. 6.74 divided by 3. And I'm going to start dividing. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 gives me 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. I bring down my 7. 3 goes into 7 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 14. I bring down my 4. 3 goes into 14 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. 14 minus 12 gives me 2. Now I'm going to annex a 0 and bring down that 0. Okay. 3 goes into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, now I'm going to start getting repeating. But I needed to know the cost per pound, right? So if I'm dealing with cost, I only need to round to 2 decimal places. Well, right here I have 3. So I can go ahead and start to round to 2 decimal places. So I have 2.246. The 6, remember, we talked about rounding earlier. 6 tells me that I can bump up this 4, so this becomes a 5. So I can round 2.246 to 2.25 because hundredths are the smallest denomination used in money. So it costs about $2.25 per pound to mail the package. Okay. So there are a couple of try problems on page 61. Go ahead, pause the video, try them out, and when you're done, we will go over the answers together. Now that you've tried the try problems on your own, let's go over the answers together. So letter A says 7.5 divided by 3. Okay. So I'm going to ask myself, 3 goes into what? 3 goes into 7 how many times? 3 goes into 7 2 times. 2 times 3 gives me 6. I subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1, and I bring down my 5. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. I subtract, I get 0. My decimal is right here. It goes straight up. So my answer is 2.5. Letter B says 3.5 divided by 7. So I'm going to take 3.5 divided by 7. Okay, 7 cannot go into 3, so I put a 0 there. I subtract, bring down my 5. 7 goes into 35 5 times. I subtract, I get 0. I bring up my decimal point, so my answer is 0.5. Letter C, 9.8 divided by 2. Okay, 2 goes into 9 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. I bring down my 8. 2 goes into 18 9 times. 9 times 2 is 18. I subtract and get 0. I bring up my decimal, which goes between 4 and 9. So I get 4.9. Letter D, 9.48 divided by 15. Okay. 15 cannot go into 9. I bring down the 4. 15 can go into 94 6 times. $15 times 6 is 90, and I subtract, get 4. Okay. I bring down my 8. 15 can go into 48 3 times. 3 times 15 is 45. I subtract and I get 3. I'm going to annex a 0 and bring it down. 15 goes into 30 2 times. 2 times 15 equals 30. When I subtract, I get 0. So my answer is 0.632. Letter E is 3.49 divided by 4. Okay. 4 cannot go into 3. But 4 can go into 34. It can go in 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. I subtract and get 2. Bring down my 9. 4 goes into 29. 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. I subtract and get 1. I'm going to annex a 0, bring it down. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. I subtract and get 2. I'm going to annex another 0, bring it down. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 gives me 20. I subtract and get 0. Okay. Then I move my decimal up to the top, so my answer for letter E is going to be 0.8725. Okay. All right, for letter F, I have 55.08 divided by 17. Okay. 17. 17 cannot go into 5. 17 can go into 55 3 times. 17 times 3 gives me 51, which gives me 4. I bring down my 0. 17 goes into 42 times. 2 times 17 gives me 34. Okay, so I'm going to subtract. Which gives me 6. I bring down my 8. 17 goes into 68 4 times, which gives me 68, which gives me 0. Okay, so my answer, after I bring up my decimal, is 3.24. Letter G says find the cost per pound of 2-pound and 4-pound packages. Okay, so we're going to use the table on page 60 to find the cost of a 2-pound and a 4-pound package. So if I go back to my table, a 2-pound package was $5.63. So we're going to start with that one first. Okay, so 2 pounds. Okay, so I'm going to divide 5.63 divided by 2. 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down my 6. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 8 times 2 is 16. I bring down my 3. 2 goes into 3 1 time. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. I'm going to annex a 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10, which is 0. Okay, so then I'm going to bring up my decimal, so I get 2.815, and I'm going to round, right? Because I'm worrying about a price, so I'm going to round to the hundredths place. So I look at my 1, I look next door, it's a 5. So 2 pounds equals about 2.82. So $2.82. Okay. The other one I wanted to look at was 4 pounds. Okay, 4-pound package was $7.87. going to divide that by 4. So 4 pounds, $7.87. So 4 goes into 7 one time. 7 minus 4 is 3. And I bring down my 8. 4 goes into 38 9 times. 9 times 4 is 36. I subtract and get 2. And I bring down my 7. 4 goes into 27 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. I subtract and get 3, and I'm going to annex 0 and bring it down. Okay. 4 goes into 38 times, which gives me 28, and I subtract and get 2. I can stop here because I'm worrying about price. So I'm going to take my decimal point, I'm going to move it up so it's there. I'm going to look at my 6, which is my hundredths place. Look next door, which is 8. 8 tells me I rounded up. So 4 pounds is approximately $1.97 per pound. Okay. So 4 pounds was $1.97 and 2 pounds was the $2.82. Okay. And that is the end of lesson 7.